You are drifting somewhere between sleep and waking. For a moment, you think you are still in your own bed, but then you notice the light. It is not the thin morning sunlight that usually slips through your curtains. This light is warmer, heavier, almost golden. It pours across your face in soft waves, like the slow unfurling of honey in warm water. Your eyes open. Above you, a ceiling stretches far higher than you thought a ceiling could go. It is not plain plaster. It is alive with shapes and colors, hand-painted swirls of flowers, cherubs, and curling vines, so intricate that your eyes follow the patterns without finding where they begin or end. The edges are trimmed with gold leaf, each thin layer catching the light until the ceiling glows as though it is lit from within. You shift slightly, and something unfamiliar brushes against your skin. The sheets are not your sheets. They are heavier, smoother, cool silk in a deep shade of cream, embroidered with gold thread. The embroidery is so fine, so delicate, that you can feel it under your fingertips like the raised veins of a leaf. Each movement makes the fabric sigh softly, the way only silk can. You sit up slowly, as if afraid you might disturb this fragile dream. The bed is enormous, wide enough that you could lie in it sideways without touching either edge. The headboard rises above you like a piece of carved architecture, its dark mahogany frame polished to a mirror's glow. Tiny, careful carvings of roses and curling vines are set into the wood, each petal and leaf so perfect that it looks alive. Above you, a canopy of rich velvet hangs, deep crimson on the outside and lined with gold satin inside. The air is faintly perfumed, not overpowering, but subtle. Perhaps lavender, perhaps lilac, perhaps something rarer and more expensive, the kind of fragrance that does not announce itself but lingers in the air like a secret. Your feet find the floor. Except it isn't a floor at all. It is a carpet so thick and soft that your toes sink into it as though into fresh spring grass. The fibers are tightly woven, patterned in rich blues, burgundies, and threads of gold that glimmer when you move. You look around. The walls are paneled with polished wood in deep, warm tones, separated by sections of patterned silk wallpaper. Each panel is framed with delicate gilding. Along the walls, small lamps glow behind glass shades, their light as soft as candlelight. There are candles, 2 real ones, set in ornate sconces of brass and gold. Their flames flicker gently, casting a quiet dance of light and shadow. To your left, towering windows stretch from the floor almost to the ceiling. They are dressed in layers, sheer lace curtains closest to the glass, and heavy velvet drapes on the outside, pulled back and tied with thick gold cords. Through the lace, the morning sun spills in, turning the air itself golden. Beyond the glass, you glimpse a garden, manicured hedges, perfectly arranged flower beds, and tall marble statues stand bathed in the early light. Somewhere, faintly, you hear the trickle of a fountain and the sound of birdsong. You stand slowly, letting the carpet cradle your steps as you cross the room. A faint movement catches your eye. In the corner near the door stands a man dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit. His posture is straight, his hands folded neatly in front of him. He is still and silent, yet not cold. His presence feels like part of the room, as natural as the furniture. When he notices you looking, he steps forward with a quiet grace, holding a silver tray. On it rests a single glass of water, crystal clear, with tiny beads of condensation running down its sides. Beside it lies an envelope sealed in dark red wax. He steps closer, inclines his head politely, and offers the tray. You take the glass. The crystal is heavy and cold in your hand, its rim etched with a delicate vine pattern that catches the light. You take a sip. The water is the purest you have ever tasted, crisp, impossibly fresh, as though drawn from some hidden mountain spring in the night. With your other hand, you take the envelope. The paper is thick, the kind that speaks of luxury before you even open it. The seal bears a crest you do not recognize, two intertwined letters, perhaps your initials now, though they feel strange to you. You break the wax carefully and slide out the note. The handwriting is elegant, flowing, the ink a rich dark brown. Breakfast will be served in the east dining room whenever you desire. You pause. The east dining room. How many dining rooms are there? And when was the last time you were invited to breakfast with such formality? A soft, steady calm spreads through you. There is no rush here, no deadlines, no noise from the street. Only the quiet dignity of the room, the golden morning, and the knowledge that this somehow is your life now. You rise from the chair, still holding the note, and notice a second set of doors across the room. They are not ordinary doors. These are tall, paneled in rich walnut, with golden handles shaped like curling leaves. A thin seam of light peeks through where the doors meet, soft and inviting. You step toward them, your slippers making almost no sound on the thick carpet. When you push them open, the light spills across your feet in a warm glow. This is not just a closet, it is a world. The room is long, with tall wardrobes built into the walls, each one framed with carved molding and fitted with shining brass handles. The ceiling here is lower, but the intimacy makes it feel more personal, as though this is a private sanctuary, yours alone. A thick Persian rug runs the length of the floor, its colors deep and soothing, midnight blue, rust red, and threads of gold. To your left, a row of glass. Front cabinets displays hats, wide, brimmed creations for summer afternoons, velvet cloches for cooler weather, and extravagant plumed designs that seem to hold entire bouquets of feathers. Their colors range from soft creams to deep emeralds and rich burgundies, each trimmed with satin ribbons, lace, or tiny jeweled pins. A tall mirror stands in the corner, framed in ivory and gold. It leans at a slight angle, perfectly placed to catch the light from a nearby window. That window, smaller than the grand ones in your bedroom, is dressed with sheer silk curtains that ripple faintly in the morning breeze. You can hear the faint call of a bird outside. Along the right wall, a series of open wardrobes reveals rows of gowns, jackets, and coats. The fabrics seem alive, shifting in the light as though they have their own moods. Here is a gown of pale blue satin, its skirt cascading in layers of lace so fine you can see through it, as easily as you might see through a dragonfly's wing. Beside it hangs a walking dress in soft gray wool, trimmed in black velvet, the kind one might wear for an afternoon stroll through Central Park in 1895. The shoulders are slightly puffed, the waist nipped in tightly, the skirt flowing modestly to the floor. You trail your hand along the fabrics as you walk. There is velvet that drinks in the light, brocade with intricate floral patterns, silks that shine like liquid. You catch the faint scent of cedarwood and lavender, the natural perfumes used to keep garments fresh before the age of electric closets and synthetic sprays. At the center of the room stands a large vanity table. Its surface is polished walnut, reflecting the soft gleam of the morning light. Upon it sit delicate bottles of perfume, their glass cut in diamond, like patterns, each stoppered with crystal. There are brushes with silver handles, their bristles clean and smooth, and combs made of ivory. Beside them, small velvet-lined boxes sit open, revealing rows of pearls, sapphires, and diamonds. You lift a string of pearls. They are heavy in your hand, the smoothness almost hypnotic. Each pearl catches the light differently, their pale sheen like moonlight trapped in stone. You set them down and pick up a brooch shaped like a lily, the petals inlaid with tiny opals that flash pink, green, and blue when they move. On a side table rests a pair of gloves. They are elbow length, made from the softest white kid leather, as supple as silk. Next to them is a fan, its frame carved from mother of pearl, the fabric painted with tiny roses. You imagine the hands that once chose these pieces, the tailor, the milliner, the jeweler. Each item here is a story, crafted by someone who likely never stepped foot in such a room, yet whose work lives here, waiting to be worn. In the far corner, a dressing screen stands open, its panels painted with scenes of gardens and fountains. Behind it sits a padded chair and a low table where a pair of slippers rests, embroidered with gold thread. As you take in the room, a soft knock sounds behind you. The same servant from earlier enters, carrying a folded note on a small silver tray. He steps quietly, his polished shoes making no sound on the rug. He sets the note down on the vanity, bows slightly, and withdraws without a word. You open the note. If you would like to dress for breakfast, your selections have been laid out in the antechamber. An antechamber, you turn to see another small door on the far wall. It was hidden before, blending into the paneling, but now that you know it is there, you can see the faint line of its frame. You cross the room and push it open. Inside, on a long padded bench, your clothes for the morning are waiting, a soft ivory shirt, finely tailored trousers, and a waistcoat of dark green velvet. Beside them, polished leather shoes, their toes gleaming, and a gold watch on a chain. Someone has chosen these for you. Someone knows your measurements exactly. The thought is strangely comforting. You leave the antechamber, carrying the clothes lightly over your arm. Just beyond the wardrobe room is another set of double doors, this time of pale marble framed in brass. Their handles are smooth and cool to the touch, shaped like curling acanthus leaves. You push them open, and a wave of warm, fragrant air washes over you. The room before you is not merely a bathroom. It is a private temple to comfort. The floors are marble, cool underfoot, veined with soft swirls of cream, gold, and pale gray. The walls are clad in the same stone, but broken here and there by large panels of polished wood, their surface gleaming under the glow of ornate gas lamps. The air smells faintly of lavender and orange blossom, a scent that lingers like a warm memory. Directly ahead, a great porcelain bathtub sits on a raised platform of marble steps. It is not small, not the sort of thing meant to be filled in minutes. It is deep enough to sink into completely, with space for your legs to stretch out and your arms to rest on the wide rim. The exterior of the tub is decorated with a band of gilded scrollwork, delicate as lace, while the taps and handles are made of polished brass. Above the tub, a high arched window lets in soft light. Sheer curtains of cream, colored linen hang loosely, swaying ever so slightly in the faint morning breeze. Through them, you can see the tops of trees from the garden below, their leaves glistening with dew. To the left, a long counter of white marble stretches beneath an enormous mirror framed in gold. On the counter rest small cut glass bottles of oils and soaps, each labeled in delicate handwriting: rosewater, sandalwood, bergamot. A silver tray holds neatly folded hand towels, their edges embroidered with the same crest you saw on the note earlier. And then, just beyond the counter, you see it, the golden toilet seat. It rests on a porcelain base of the highest quality, but the seat itself is unmistakably gold, solid, heavy, and gleaming as though freshly polished. The hinges, too, are golden, catching the light in a way that makes them almost too bright to look at directly. It is absurd, and yet it is perfectly at home here. You step closer, and the light from the arched window spills across its surface. The gold is not glaring. It is warm, almost mellow, as though softened by years of careful care. The reflection you see in it is gentle, not distorted, like a mirror worn smooth with time. For a moment, you think about how many hands must have worked to make such a thing, miners who pulled the gold from the earth, craftsmen who shaped it, polishers who brought out its glow. All for this, an object both ordinary and extraordinary, a seat for a moment's pause, elevated into a symbol of unimaginable wealth. You move on, past the toilet, and toward a smaller door at the far end of the room. It opens into a dressing alcove where a padded bench sits beside a tall screen. Here, robes hang from hooks, thick Turkish cotton, their hems heavy with embroidery. On a low shelf, soft towels are stacked in perfect alignment, each folded to the exact same size. Beside the bench is a shallow basin with a pitcher of steaming water. The water is perfumed faintly with lavender. When you pour it into the basin, the steam curls upward like a slow, lazy ribbon. You take a moment to breathe in the scent. The entire room seems to hum with quiet luxury, not the brash display of a new fortune, but the settled comfort of wealth that has lasted for generations. Every surface gleams. Every object feels as though it has been chosen, not just bought. Somewhere outside the door, you hear the faint creak of a floorboard. The servant is waiting. Breakfast is ready. You gather your clothes, step from the warmth of the bathroom into the cooler air of the hallway, and follow the gentle murmur of footsteps toward the east dining room. You step into the hallway, and the air changes. The soft warmth of the bathroom gives way to a cooler, fresher current, carrying with it the faint scent of beeswax polish and freshly cut flowers. The light here is dimmer, filtered through stained glass windows that turn the sun's rays into ripples of amber, rose, and green. The colors drift lazily across the walls as the morning moves forward, like the slow turning of a kaleidoscope. Your slippers make almost no sound on the runner that stretches the length of the corridor. The carpet beneath it is even softer than the one in your bedroom, thicker, more tightly woven, its deep red tones softened by age. Along the edges, carved wooden baseboards rise into intricate paneling, the grain so rich and dark it seems to drink in the light. The walls above the paneling are hung with paintings in gilded frames. Each one is different: pastoral landscapes with clouds painted in soft strokes, portraits of stern-faced men with watchful eyes, delicate watercolors of ships at sea. You pass a large oil painting of a woman in an ivory gown, her gloved hand resting on the arm of a chair. Her gaze follows you as you walk, calm and unblinking. Further along, a pedestal holds a marble bust. The face is finely carved, the lips almost curved into a smile. Its surface glows faintly in the dim light, the marble cool and perfect as if it had never been touched by dust. Every so often, you pass tall vases set into carved alcoves in the wall. Each one overflows with fresh flowers, roses, lilies, and sprays of greenery arranged so artfully that they seem almost alive. Their fragrance is subtle, a soft layer atop the deeper scent of polished wood and distant cooking. The corridor opens into a small landing where a staircase sweeps downward in a gentle curve. Its balustrade is carved with winding vines and blossoms, each one distinct, as though the craftsmen who shaped them took pride in making every leaf unique. The polished wood reflects the soft glow of the gas lamps along the wall. A servant stands halfway down, dressed in a dark waistcoat and white gloves. When you reach him, he inclines his head, stepping aside to allow you to pass. He does not speak, but you feel the quiet rhythm of the house through him, every movement precise, every gesture measured. As you descend, the sounds of the lower floor begin to reach you, a faint clink of porcelain, the rustle of fabric somewhere far away, the deep, slow toll of a grandfather clock marking the quarter hour. The staircase curves into a grand hall. Here, the ceiling rises high above, supported by carved columns topped with curling acanthus leaves. The floor is black and white marble, cool and smooth underfoot. Light pours in from a row of tall windows, each topped with a fan of delicate stained glass. In the center of the hall stands a round table draped in embroidered linen. Upon it rests an enormous silver bowl filled with fresh fruit, apples, pears, clusters of grapes so full they seem ready to burst. At the base of the table, a circular Persian rug blooms in rich colors beneath your feet. Two double doors stand open at the far end of the hall, revealing the east dining room. From here, you can see the faint shimmer of glassware, the gleam of silver utensils, and the soft movement of someone adjusting a place setting. The servant from earlier appears at your side, moving so quietly you wonder if he has been following you the entire time. With a slight gesture, he leads you toward the open doors. The air here is warmer, carrying the scents of fresh bread, coffee, and something faintly sweet. As you step through into the dining room, you feel as though you have crossed into a painting, a scene composed with perfect care, every detail in place, every color chosen to please the eye. The east dining room greets you like a quiet, sunlit stage. The light here is soft, almost golden, filtered through tall lace curtains that sway gently with the morning air. The walls are dressed in deep green damask, their rich texture catching the light like ripples in a forest pond. High above, the ceiling is painted with delicate floral garlands, their colors muted with time, as though the morning has been passing here for decades without hurry. In the center of the room, the dining table stretches long and narrow, its polished mahogany surface gleaming beneath a lace runner. At each place setting, fine china gleams white against the warm tones of the wood, the edges of each plate traced in thin bands of gold. The silver cutlery has been polished to a mirrored sheen. You can see the faintest reflection of your fingertips as you move past them. At your seat, pulled out slightly in quiet readiness, rests a folded napkin, crisp and heavy, embroidered with the same crest you have begun to notice throughout the house. The chair is upholstered in dark green velvet, the fabric soft under your touch. Its back curves slightly, inviting you to sit. Once you do, the chair feels perfectly balanced, not too hard, not too yielding, as though it was made with your comfort in mind long before you arrived here. A servant glides forward, placing before you a small crystal glass filled with fresh orange juice. The surface glistens with condensation, and the scent rises immediately, bright, sharp, and clean. In the Gilded Age, such a thing would have been a true luxury. Oranges carried across great distances in cool rail cars, arriving fresh only for those who could afford them. Another servant sets down a porcelain cup filled with coffee, its surface rippling faintly as the steam curls upward. The aroma is deep and rich, with the faintest note of chocolate. A small silver pitcher of cream rests beside it, along with a bowl of fine sugar cubes, each one perfectly square. Breakfast begins quietly. First comes a plate of sliced melon and berries, their colors jewel, like in the morning light. The melon is pale and sweet, the berries dark and tart. You notice that each slice of fruit has been cut to the same thickness, each berry carefully chosen. No blemishes, no imperfections. Then comes a dish of eggs softly scrambled, their texture almost like a custard. A thin slice of smoked salmon rests alongside them, glistening faintly. There is toast as well, light, crisp, spread with butter that has been whipped until it is almost cloud-like. The meal is unhurried. As you eat, you notice the quiet choreography of the servants. They move without speaking, yet they seem to communicate perfectly, one lifting a plate just as another replaces it, one refilling your glass at the moment it is set down. Their movements are slow enough not to disturb, yet precise enough to seem rehearsed. In the Gilded Age, breakfast was often a private affair, taken alone or with immediate family. It was a moment to begin the day without rush, a quiet interval before the demands of business, social calls, or travel. Here, it feels timeless. The sunlight shifts slowly across the table, catching in the crystal glassware and sending tiny rainbows across the lace runner. Somewhere in the distance, you hear the faint ring of a carriage bell from the street outside. When you finish, the last dish is taken away with the same silent grace with which it arrived. A small silver tray is placed before you, holding a single envelope. The handwriting on it is the same elegant script you saw on the note in your bedroom. You take the envelope. It feels heavy, as though it contains more than just paper. The servant at your side bows slightly, then steps back. The room is still. You have the rest of the day before you. You rise from the table, the last traces of breakfast lingering as a warm comfort in your stomach. The envelope rests in your hand, but you tuck it away for later. Some things can wait. The servant guides you back through the grand hall, his footsteps making no sound on the marble floor. This time, instead of turning toward the staircase, he leads you to a pair of tall French doors framed in heavy velvet drapes. He opens one with a quiet motion, and a cool current of morning air flows in. You step outside. The first sensation is the brightness, not harsh, but full, as though the day has been quietly building while you were inside. The air is fresher here, carrying the scents of cut grass, damp earth, and the faint salt of the nearby sea. Somewhere beyond the gardens, you can hear the steady rush of waves against the shore. Before you, the estate grounds stretch outward in a slow, deliberate sprawl. Neatly trimmed hedges form winding paths, leading to small groves of trees, each carefully placed to provide shade without blocking the view. Beds of roses bloom in layered colors, deep crimson at the center, fading to pale pink and cream at the edges. Their scent drifts toward you in waves each time the breeze passes. A gravel path curves gently from the terrace, bordered by low stone walls draped in ivy. The small stones crunch faintly under your slippers as you begin to walk. To your left, an expanse of manicured lawn rolls downward toward a glimmering fountain. The fountain's basin is carved from pale marble, its rim adorned with cherubs holding seashells from which thin streams of water flow. The sound of it is soft but constant, a gentle splash, a quiet rhythm. Beyond the fountain, you see the carriage drive. It sweeps in a perfect circle, edged with tall elm trees whose branches meet overhead to form a green tunnel. A stable lies just beyond, its red brick walls clean and its slate roof glistening slightly in the sunlight. You catch a glimpse of movement, stable hands leading a pair of dark horses from their stalls. The animals move with slow, deliberate steps, their coats shining like polished wood. Farther off, the greenhouse glitters like a jewel in the distance. Its frame is cast iron, painted a deep green, and its glass panes catch the light with every angle. Inside, you can just make out the shapes of palms, ferns, and delicate orchids, a small tropical world sustained even in the heart of a temperate morning. As you follow the path, the sounds of the house fade behind you. Birds sing from the branches above, their calls distinct and clear. A morning dove coos from somewhere unseen. Bees drift lazily among the flowers, their hum blending with the soft sigh of wind through the leaves. In the Gilded Age, estate gardens were as much a statement as the house itself. They were living proof of wealth, not only the means to design and plant them, but the staff to keep them in perfect order, day after day, season after season. Every trimmed hedge, every blossom in perfect bloom, was a quiet declaration. Here, nothing is left to chance. The path takes you toward a low stone bench set beneath a spreading oak. The bench is cool in the shade, its surface smoothed by decades of use. From here, the view is wide, the lawns stretching toward the distant cliff edge where the ocean meets the sky. The sunlight glances off the water, scattering points of silver across the waves. You sit for a moment, letting the air settle around you. The world here moves slowly, deliberately. Every sound is softened, every view arranged as though it were a painting. Time feels stretched, as if the day has no need to hurry toward its end. Somewhere behind you, a faint chime rings from the house, a reminder that the day's plans are waiting. Yet, for now, you remain where you are, the gardens breathing quietly around you, the sea whispering in the distance. The chime you heard in the distance fades, replaced by the soft rhythm of your footsteps returning to the house. The gravel path crunches gently underfoot, and the sound shifts to a hollow echo as you step onto the terrace once more. A waiting footman holds the French doors open for you, his gloved hand resting lightly on the brass handle. You pass through, leaving behind the scent of roses for the cool, faintly polished air of the grand hall. Your personal valet is already waiting at the base of the staircase. His posture is impeccable, shoulders straight, head inclined in a respectful nod. Without a word, he gestures upward, and together you ascend the carpeted steps, the muted thud of each step carrying you toward the private wing of the house. The dressing room is a world of quiet luxury. Tall windows draped in pale silk allow the light to spill in, softened and diffused. Along one wall stands a towering wardrobe of dark walnut, its polished surface reflecting faint glints of sunlight. Brass handles gleam against the wood, each one perfectly aligned. Your valet opens the wardrobe, revealing a row of garments arranged with almost military precision. Fabrics in shades of charcoal, navy, and cream hang evenly spaced, their folds crisp and unbroken. The air carries a faint scent of cedar and pressed linen. He selects your attire for the day, a morning coat of deep charcoal wool, tailored to perfection, its cut designed to emphasize both dignity and presence. Beneath it, a cream-colored waistcoat patterned with subtle embroidery. The shirt is freshly starched, its collar high and slightly stiff, fashioned to frame the face elegantly. Your trousers are pressed with razor-sharp creases, the kind only achieved by hours of careful ironing. For footwear, highly polished leather boots, their dark surface catching the light with every slight movement. The dressing process is unhurried, each step a quiet ritual. The shirt is eased onto your shoulders, the waistcoat buttoned with measured precision, the coat settled in place until it drapes just so. The valet adjusts your cravat, the folds smoothed by skilled hands into a perfect knot. A pocket watch, its case of engraved gold, is slipped into your waistcoat pocket, the chain looped with exact symmetry. The time reads just past 10, a proper hour to be seen in town. Once dressed, you move to the vanity where a silver-backed brush awaits. Your hair is smoothed neatly, parted with subtle care. In the Gilded Age, appearance was not simply personal, it was a language. Every detail spoke of refinement, wealth, and an awareness of social expectation. When you are ready, the valet offers a final mirror for inspection, a full-length reflection in which you stand not as a visitor to this world, but as one who belongs within it. A footman appears at the doorway. "Your carriage is ready, sir," he says in a low, respectful tone. You follow him through the corridors, the sound of your boots muffled by thick rugs. The front doors of the house swing open to reveal the carriage drive outside. Waiting there is a gleaming Landau carriage, its black lacquered body reflecting the midday sun. The wheels are trimmed with brass fittings, and the interior is upholstered in deep burgundy leather. 2 horses stand harnessed, their coats groomed to a mirror finish, manes braided with care. The coachman, dressed in dark livery and high hat, holds the reins with practiced ease. A groom stands at the side, ready to assist you in stepping aboard. The leather seat embraces you as you settle in. Across from you, a small arrangement of fresh flowers rests in a crystal vase, an understated touch, but one that makes the carriage feel like an extension of the house itself. The groom closes the door softly. The carriage jolts forward, then glides into motion, the sound of hooves striking the gravel in steady rhythm. The elm-lined drive slips past, the trees forming a green tunnel that opens to the main road. From here, the journey to town begins. The wheels roll smoothly over the packed dirt road, and the scenery changes. First open fields bordered by low stone walls, then scattered cottages with gardens in bloom. As you approach the city, the quiet of the countryside gives way to a gentle hum, voices, footsteps, the distant clang of a streetcar bell. Your reflection in the carriage window watches back at you. You are dressed for the day, poised to step into the Gilded Age world not as an observer, but as its inhabitant. The road begins to change under the wheels of the carriage. The quiet hum of the countryside fades, replaced by the layered sounds of a city waking fully to the day. The horses maintain a steady pace, their hoof beats now mingling with the rumble of other carriages, the clatter of wagon wheels, and the distant hiss of steam from somewhere unseen. The air shifts as well. The crisp scent of grass and sea gives way to the mingled fragrances of the city. Freshly baked bread from a nearby bakery, faint coal smoke drifting from chimney stacks, the perfume of flower sellers stationed along busy corners. The streets widen as you enter the central district, and the architecture rises around you like a carefully painted backdrop. Tall, ornate buildings line both sides, stone facades dressed in columns, carved cornices, and decorative ironwork. Many are crowned with mansard roofs, their slate tiles gleaming darkly in the sunlight. The shop fronts on the ground level are alive with color and motion. Display windows, some with polished brass frames, others with painted wooden trim, reveal the goods within. Hats with sweeping feathers, silver-handled canes, bolts of silk in deep jewel tones. The glass catches the sunlight, flashing briefly as the carriage passes. Street lamps stand at even intervals, their cast-iron bases anchored firmly into the pavement. Though they will not be lit until evening, they lend the street an ordered elegance. Between them, pedestrians move in an unhurried flow, men in top hats and morning coats, women in long skirts of rustling taffeta, their gloves perfectly matched to their parasols. Children dart between them, some carrying baskets for errands, others lingering at the edge of a street, performers, small crowd. You catch a brief glimpse of the performance, a man in a crisp waistcoat producing coins from thin air, the coins catching the sunlight before vanishing again into nothingness. The driver guides the horses through a wide intersection where the activity deepens. An electric streetcar glides past on steel rails, its trolley pole tracing an invisible path along the overhead wires. Inside, passengers sit shoulder to shoulder, their faces turned toward the windows as the city scrolls by. The faint clang of its bell drifts back as it disappears down the avenue. At the far end of the street, a public park opens like a pause in the city's rhythm. Tall trees shade winding gravel paths, and a marble fountain at its center sends water in a high arc before it falls in a delicate spray. Benches line the paths, occupied by readers, nannies minding prams, and older gentlemen feeding pigeons from small paper bags. The carriage slows as you near your destination, a grand building of pale stone, its entry framed by tall Corinthian columns. The wide steps leading up to it are swept clean, and a doorman in deep green livery stands at attention, gloved hands folded in front of him. The driver reins in the horses, and the carriage comes to a smooth halt. The groom steps forward, opening the door with practiced precision. You step down, the city sounds enveloping you fully now. Layers of voices, the rumble of wheels, the gentle hiss of gas escaping from a nearby lamppost where maintenance is being done. Above it all, a church bell tolls the quarter hour. Here, in the heart of the Gilded Age city, you are not just passing through, you are part of its fabric. The buildings, the people, the sounds and scents, all fold around you as naturally as if you had always walked these streets. Somewhere in the distance, a clock strikes 11, The day is young, and the city waits. The doorman inclines his head as you approach, one gloved hand moving to open the great brass, framed doors. A soft waft of cooler air greets you, carrying with it the faint fragrance of polished wood, fresh flowers, and expensive perfumes. You step into a vast open atrium bathed in filtered light from an enormous stained glass skylight high above. The sunlight, softened into shades of gold and rose, spills down over marble floors patterned in geometric designs. The hush inside is immediate and comforting, a marked contrast to the layered bustle of the street outside. In the center of the atrium stands a grand floral arrangement, easily as tall as a person. Lilies, roses, and orchids have been arranged in a tiered display, their blooms perfectly fresh, their stems hidden within an ornate brass urn that gleams as if it has been polished only moments ago. The fragrance here is subtle but luxurious, designed not to overwhelm, but to linger gently in the background. Around the edges of the atrium, counters and display tables form small islands of temptation. Behind each counter stands an impeccably dressed shop assistant, gentlemen in crisp suits with silver watch chains, ladies in high-necked blouses with lace trim and long skirts of understated elegance. Their eyes are attentive but never intrusive, ready to assist the moment you pause. To your left, the fine millinery department is a study in delicate artistry. Wide, brimmed hats rest on velvet stands, their ribbons trailing softly, feathers arranged in sweeping arcs, and small clusters of silk flowers affixed with invisible stitches. The air here carries a faint scent of starch and dyed fabric, mingled with the perfume worn by the shopgirls. A few steps beyond, the jewelry department glitters beneath discreetly placed gas lamps. Velvet-lined cases display rows of diamond brooches, pearl necklaces with a sheen like captured moonlight, and watches encased in gold filigree. The light is arranged to make each piece catch the eye, the gleam of metal and stone shifting as you move past. You follow the polished walnut handrail toward a wide staircase. Each step is edged in brass and muffled under a rich runner carpet. Your fingers glide along the smooth, warm wood of the banister as you ascend to the second floor. Here, the air changes slightly, lighter, carrying the faint scent of freshly pressed wool and cotton. The gentleman's outfitting department stretches ahead in neat order. Racks of suits in subtle plaids and deep solids stand ready, each tailored to the fashions of the moment. Fine shirts are stacked with geometric precision, their collars stiff and uniform. In one corner, a display of walking canes stands like a small forest, handles carved into silver animal heads, polished wood shafts ending in discreet brass caps. Across the aisle, an entire section is devoted to leather goods. Softly tanned briefcases, travel trunks bound in brass corners, and gloves of kid leather so smooth they seem almost weightless. You run your fingertips along the surface of a briefcase, feeling the subtle give of the leather and the perfect alignment of each stitch. From here, you wander toward a quieter section near the far end of the floor. This is the reading and stationery department, where the scent of ink and paper drifts gently in the air. Polished mahogany shelves hold volumes bound in leather and cloth, their spines stamped in gold. Small writing desks are arranged nearby, each set with crystal inkwells and trays of heavy cream-colored paper. The paper is thick under your hand, the kind that takes ink without the slightest bleed. Somewhere behind you, the faint chime of a clock marks the half-hour. The murmur of voices is low and soothing, the kind of sound that blends into the background until it feels like part of the air itself. From the upper level, you glance back toward the atrium. The stained glass skylight glows softly, the floral arrangement below now a splash of color framed by marble and brass. The store feels less like a place of commerce and more like a sanctuary, one built for the quiet enjoyment of beauty, refinement, and the unhurried choice of life's finer things. The staircase to the rooftop tea room is narrower, tucked discreetly near the upper floor's far corner. Each step is padded with a thick runner in deep burgundy, muffling the sound of your ascent. The air changes slightly as you rise, lighter, tinged with the faint aroma of fresh bread and simmering broth drifting from the kitchen below. A final turn brings you to a set of double glass doors framed in polished brass. A doorman, wearing a uniform in muted green with gold braid, steps forward to open them for you. Beyond, a quiet transformation awaits. The tea room is bathed in natural light from tall arched windows that line the entire perimeter. Beyond the glass, the city stretches out in every direction. Late rooftops, spires, and the faint blue haze of distance where the river meets the horizon. The view feels removed from the bustle below, as if the building itself has risen above time. Inside, the floor is laid in pale oak parquet, polished to a gentle sheen. Tables draped in white linen are set at comfortable distances, each topped with a single fresh bloom in a small crystal vase. The chairs are upholstered in pale cream with carved wooden arms that curve under your elbows. A soft murmur of conversation drifts through the air, punctuated by the quiet clink of porcelain cups on saucers. Somewhere nearby, a small ensemble plays, a violin, a cello, and a piano weaving together slow, almost dreamlike melodies that float just above the room's hush. A waiter, immaculately dressed in a black waistcoat and white gloves, approaches with a graceful bow. His voice is low, polite, and unhurried as he recites the day's offerings. The menu is handwritten on thick cream paper. It offers delicate sandwiches, thin slices of cucumber layered with fresh butter on white bread, smoked salmon with a touch of dill, and chicken salad with a hint of tarragon. There are soups as well, one a clear consomme with floating herbs, another a creamy bisque tinted the palest coral. For the more indulgent appetite, there is a plate of cold roast beef served with horseradish cream, and a warm quiche filled with young asparagus and soft cheese. Freshly baked scones arrive with clotted cream and jars of preserves, their lids tied with satin ribbon. You choose a pot of Darjeeling tea, light, fragrant, and perfectly suited to the moment. The waiter returns with a silver tray, placing the porcelain teapot before you, its surface warm to the touch. The steam that escapes carries the tea's floral notes, and you watch as the amber liquid fills your cup. The milk jug is of fine bone china, painted with a delicate pattern of violets, and the sugar bowl's lid fits with a soft click when lifted. As you sip, the flavor unfolds in gentle layers, each note lingering just long enough before giving way to the next. The sandwiches are light but satisfying, the bread so soft it yields without resistance. The scone is warm from the oven, its surface breaking easily to reveal a tender crumb within. The cream is cool and thick, the preserve bright with a taste of summer fruit. The city beyond the glass seems to move in slow motion. A puff of white steam drifts up from a streetcar below. A flock of pigeons wheels in unison over a church spire. Somewhere in the distance, the river catches the sunlight, flashing briefly like a polished mirror before fading back into soft blue. The ensemble plays on, the music folding into the moment like a memory you haven't yet made. Time feels elastic here, stretched gently so that each detail can be noticed, absorbed and tucked away. When you finish, the waiter clears your table with quiet efficiency. He offers you a final cup of tea before you leave, and you accept, savoring the warmth in your hands as much as the taste. Eventually, you rise and move toward the windows one last time. The view is still there, unchanged yet subtly different now that you have shared a part of it in stillness. As you make your way back toward the staircase, the sound of the city begins to seep in again, faint at first, as if it knows not to rush you. The tea room door closes softly behind you, sealing the moment in a pocket of memory. Outside the department store, the sunlight has mellowed. It is not yet late in the day, but the angle of the light has softened, casting longer shadows along the street. The waiting carriage stands by the curb, its black lacquered body polished to a mirror sheen. Brass fittings glint in the light, and the tall, spoked wheels bear the faint scent of linseed oil from recent care. The driver, dressed in a dark coat with gleaming brass buttons, sits high upon the box seat, reins gathered loosely in gloved hands. A tall silk hat shades his face, but you can see the polite nod he gives as you approach. The horses, two well-matched bays, shift their weight slightly, their manes neatly brushed, their coats catching the light with every subtle movement. The carriage door opens with a quiet click, revealing an interior upholstered in deep green velvet. The cushions yield softly beneath you as you settle in, the scent of leather and polished wood mingling faintly with the cool afternoon air. With a gentle flick of the reins, the carriage begins to roll forward. The sound of hooves against the cobblestones is steady and rhythmic, joined by the faint creak of the leather harness and the occasional soft jingle of metal fittings. The city begins to slip away. Rows of tall brick buildings give way to wider avenues lined with trees. You pass the grand facades of mansions with their wrought iron gates and tidy gardens. Some windows are thrown open, lace curtains fluttering faintly in the breeze. Others stand closed, their polished glass reflecting only the sky. Before long, the carriage turns beneath a great arched stone gateway. You have entered the park. Here, the air changes. The scent of horse and city dust fades, replaced by the mingled aromas of grass, damp earth, and the faint sweetness of blooming flowers. The road is smoother now, paved in fine gravel that crunches softly beneath the wheels. Trees arch overhead in long, graceful boughs, dappling the carriage in moving shadows as sunlight filters through fresh green leaves. The soundscape shifts too. The clamor of city streets is distant, replaced by the occasional trill of a bird, the faint ripple of water somewhere nearby, and the hushed murmur of other carriages passing at a polite distance. You pass a broad lawn where a scattering of people sit on benches, their parasols open like small painted flowers. Gentlemen stroll slowly along the paths, some carrying walking sticks, others pausing to tip their hats in greeting. A group of children chase each other near a fountain, their laughter ringing softly before blending back into the park's calm. The carriage rounds a curve, revealing the fountain in full, a grand stone basin with carved figures at its center. Water arcs gracefully from their hands, catching the light in 1,000 brief flashes before falling back into the pool with a gentle, continuous murmur. Beyond the fountain, the path narrows and winds through a shaded grove. The air here is cooler, touched with the scent of pine and damp moss. Sunlight filters through in narrow shafts, illuminating patches of ground where wildflowers nod gently in the breeze. The horses slow slightly as the carriage approaches a small stone bridge. Beneath it, a stream moves lazily, its surface broken now and then by the silver flash of a fish. On the far side, the road widens again, opening onto a broad promenade lined with flowering shrubs. Their petals drift down now and then, settling on the gravel like soft confetti. In the distance, the lake comes into view. The water is calm, reflecting both the sky and the pale outlines of distant boathouses. A rowboat drifts lazily near the shore, its oars dipping in and out of the water in slow, unhurried strokes. The carriage makes a slow circuit of the lake, giving you time to absorb each detail. The swans gliding silently across the surface, the rustle of reeds along the shore, the faint scent of water lilies carried on the breeze. Eventually, the driver turns the carriage toward the park's exit. The sunlight is lower now, gilding the edges of every leaf and blade of grass. The rhythmic sound of hooves and wheels continues, steady and reassuring, as the green shade gives way once more to the open avenues of the city. You sit back against the velvet cushions, letting the last of the park's calm linger in your mind, carrying it with you into the rest of the afternoon. The carriage draws to a halt at the edge of a wide, cobblestone promenade. Here, the late afternoon light has begun its transformation into early evening. The sun's rays slant low, striking the polished brass fittings of shop doors and sending small, warm glints across the pavement. The driver tips his hat as you step down, the quiet thud of your shoes on stone, muffled by the hum of soft conversation all around. The promenade stretches in both directions, framed on one side by elegant shop fronts, and on the other by a low wrought iron railing. Beyond the railing, the water of the harbor ripples gently, reflecting a mosaic of gold and rose from the lowering sun. The scent of salt mingles with the faint aroma of roasting chestnuts from a vendor's cart farther down the walk. Shops here display their wares with a kind of theatrical care. Behind polished plate glass windows, mannequins stand in tailored suits and silk gowns, lit by small gas lamps whose glow grows warmer as the daylight begins to fade. Jewelers have arranged necklaces and watches on velvet stands, their surfaces catching and holding the light like drops of captured sunset. In a confectioner's window, rows of candied fruit gleam in crystal jars, and a tiered stand displays frosted cakes under glass domes. The foot traffic moves at an unhurried pace. Ladies in high-necked gowns and feathered hats stroll arm in arm, their skirts whispering softly with each step. Gentlemen in tailored coats carry canes not for necessity but for elegance, pausing now and then to greet acquaintances with a slight bow or the tip of a hat. You join the flow, each step carrying you past moments worth lingering over. To your left, a bookseller has set up a small table outside, stacked with new editions bound in deep green and maroon leather. The gilt lettering on their spines glimmers faintly in the soft light. A few steps farther, a florist is arranging fresh blooms, roses, lilies, and sprays of lilac to tight, fragrant bouquets. The scent drifts into the air, momentarily outshining the salt of the harbor. The sounds here are gentle, layered, but never overwhelming. A violinist stands near a lamppost, bow moving slowly over strings, sending a tender melody into the evening air. Somewhere behind you, the steady clip of hooves tells of another carriage passing along the street. A pair of children's voices rise in laughter before vanishing into the deeper hum of conversation. Gas lamps along the promenade begin to glow as the light fades further. Their glass globes catch specks of dust in the air, turning them into faint points of gold. The first stars appear overhead, reflected faintly in the darkening water beyond the railing. You pause at the end of the promenade, where a wide set of stone steps descends toward the water's edge. The tide laps gently against the dock, and the faint creak of moored boats joins the evening's quiet symphony. The cool air from the water brushes against your face, bringing with it a sense of calm that settles deeply, as if the day has exhaled its last breath. Turning back toward the shops, you notice that their glow now feels brighter, more inviting, as though each doorway offers a small pocket of warmth against the gathering dusk. The promenade itself has slowed even further, people lingering to watch the lamplighter make his rounds, couples stopping to gaze at the water before continuing on. You walk on, letting the rhythm of the evening carry you, every step part of a scene that feels as though it could go on forever, untouched by haste. The air is cool, the light soft, and the promenade stretches ahead like a dream you do not yet wish to wake from. Promenade's gentle hum fades behind you as you cross a short stretch of cobblestone street toward the hotel's grand entrance. Tall glass doors, framed in dark polished mahogany, stand beneath a broad canopy of deep green fabric trimmed with gold braid. Two uniformed doormen, their coats buttoned high against the evening's chill, step forward to open the way with a smooth, synchronized motion. Inside, the first sensation is warmth, not just the physical kind, though the air is pleasantly heated, but the warmth of soft light, rich color, and the muted sounds of genteel evening activity. The lobby is a vast space, its marble floor laid in intricate patterns of cream and deep umber. Enormous columns rise to a ceiling painted with delicate frescoes of clouds, cherubs, and faintly gilded scrollwork. A great chandelier hangs in the center, its tiers of crystal catching and scattering the golden glow of hundreds of gas flames. The light spills over everything, turning the polished brass railings into thin lines of fire and giving a mellow gleam to the rich mahogany paneling along the walls. The scent here is subtle but unmistakable: polished wood, beeswax, and a faint trace of fresh, cut flowers from the large arrangements that stand on pedestals throughout the room. In the far corner, a string quartet plays softly, their music drifting upward into the vaulted ceiling before falling like a gentle mist over the entire space. Guests move about at a measured pace. A pair of ladies in evening gowns pause to consult the tall gilt-framed mirror near the entrance to the dining room. A gentleman in a tailcoat leans slightly toward the concierge's desk, speaking in a low voice as the clerk nods attentively. Near the grand staircase, a small group of travelers is checking in, their leather trunks stacked neatly by a bellman whose brass buttoned cap catches the chandelier's glow. You take a slow walk toward the lounge, passing a row of high-backed armchairs upholstered in deep burgundy velvet. In one, an older gentleman reads a folded newspaper, his gold-rimmed spectacles perched low on his nose. In another, a young woman sips tea from a porcelain cup, the steam curling softly upward before disappearing into the air. The grand staircase itself is a thing of beauty. Broad steps of white marble edged with a runner of deep red carpet, flanked on each side by ornate brass balustrades. At its base, the polished floor reflects the entire structure like a still pond. The lounge beyond is quieter still. The lighting here is lower, each table lit by a small shaded lamp. Rich Persian rugs muffle footsteps, and the murmur of conversation blends with the occasional clink of crystal glasses. From here, the windows look out onto the harbor, where the last traces of sunset glow faintly above the horizon. You choose a seat near the window, letting the chair's deep cushions embrace you. The waiter approaches without haste, his voice soft, and even as he asks if you'd like tea, coffee, or perhaps a cordial to end the evening. As you answer, you can still hear the quartet playing faintly from the lobby, the slow strains of a waltz that seem to fold the whole scene in on itself, warm, timeless, and entirely unhurried. Outside, the lamps along the promenade now burn steadily, their reflections shivering across the dark water. Inside, the air is steady and still, as though the hotel itself has taken a deep breath and now rests, content in the quiet grandeur of its evening. The evening has deepened now, and with it comes a softened quiet that seems to settle over the entire city. From the hotel lounge, you take one last look at the harbor's dark surface, broken only by the silver flicker of reflected lamplight, before rising slowly from your seat. The waiter inclines his head as you pass, his movement as smooth as the rustle of your coat sleeve. Crossing the lobby once more, the music from the string quartet seems gentler now, as though the musicians themselves have lowered their voices in respect for the hour. The gaslights cast warm halos across the marble floor, and the distant chime of a clock marks the passing of another half-hour. You ascend the grand staircase at an unhurried pace, the plush carpet soft beneath your steps. On the landing, A tall window offers a final view of the street below. The promenade is quieter now, only a few figures moving slowly along its length, their outlines softened by the mist that has begun to drift in from the water. The world out there seems to dim with every passing moment, retreating into the shadows of the night. Your suite door opens to a space bathed in low lamplight. Heavy silk curtains are drawn against the cool air outside, their folds falling in perfect symmetry from ceiling to floor. A fire burns low in the hearth, its embers glowing with a steady, comforting light. The scent of polished wood and faint lavender lingers in the air. The bed stands at the center, its carved headboard dark and rich against the pale linen sheets. A coverlet of deep damask is turned back, inviting rest. On the writing desk, a silver tray holds a small decanter of water and a crystal glass, the surface catching the lamplight in delicate points. You take a slow walk through the room, letting your fingertips brush the smooth arm of a velvet chair, the cool curve of a porcelain vase, the heavy frame of a painting depicting a calm seascape under moonlight. Everything here is still, as though time itself has slowed to match the rhythm of your breath. At last, you extinguish the lamps one by one. The glow of the hearth becomes the only light, casting long shadows across the walls and ceiling. You slip beneath the coverlet, the fabric cool at first but quickly warming to your presence. From outside, faint sounds filter in the muffled roll of carriage wheels somewhere in the distance, the gentle sigh of wind against the window. The fire settles into a slow crackle, each sound a quiet reassurance that the night is unfolding as it should, your eyes close, the warmth of the bed and the softness of the dark carrying you away. The Gilded Age promenade, the grandeur of the hotel, the calm of the harbor, all of it drifts into the quiet corners of your mind, not fading, but becoming part of the dream that awaits.